You know that feeling, right? You're talking to someone and everything seems fine on the surface. They're smiling, saying all the right things, but something in your gut is telling you to pay attention. There's a disconnect you can't quite name, and it's making you uncomfortable. Here's what I want you to know. You're not being paranoid. That instinct exists for a reason. Evolution spent millions of years developing that radar in you, and it's trying to tell you something important. The problem is, most of us have been taught to ignore it. We've been conditioned to prioritize politeness over protection, and that costs us bad partnerships, broken trust. That awful moment when you realize, months later, that you saw the signs all along but chose to look away. Today, we're going to change that. Forget the outdated body language tricks you've heard about, crossed arms and darting eyes. We're going deeper than that. We're talking about the cognitive mechanics of deception, and I'm going to show you how to recognize it in real time. And here's a promise. Halfway through this, I'm going to reveal something that completely contradicts what you've been told about eye contact and honesty. If you think maintaining eye contact proves someone's telling the truth, you need to hear this. My wake-up call. I'll be honest with you, I used to be terrible at this. I actually wore my trust like a badge of honor. I remember sitting across from a friend a few years ago as he pitched me a business opportunity. That uncomfortable feeling was there, sitting in my chest like a stone. But I pushed it down. I told myself I was being a good friend by believing him. 6 months later, both the money and the friendship were gone. The worst part wasn't the financial loss. It was the realization that I knew. My instincts flagged it in the first 10 seconds, but I talked myself out of listening. That's when everything changed for me. That's when I started studying how deception actually works, how your brain processes truth versus lies. Think about your brain like a computer processor. When you're telling the truth, you're essentially opening a file that already exists. The information is there, stored in your memory. You just access it. It takes almost no effort. But lying? That's a completely different process. Your brain has to do multiple things simultaneously. It needs to suppress the real memory, construct an alternative version, make sure that version is coherent, and monitor the other person's reaction to see if they're believing it. All of this happens in real time. This creates what researchers call cognitive load, and it manifests in ways you can learn to recognize. The person isn't fully present with you because their mental resources are tied up maintaining the fabrication. The statue effect. Here's where it gets interesting and where common knowledge gets it wrong. We've all been told that liars fidget and squirm, but the research shows something counterintuitive. When someone's brain is overloaded with cognitive effort, it actually shuts down unnecessary movement. Energy gets redirected to maintaining the lie. The result? The person goes unnaturally still. The gestures freeze. The upper body locks up. I call this the statue effect, and once you learn to spot it, you'll see it everywhere. Someone who's usually expressive suddenly becomes rigid while answering a specific question. That's your first clue. The reverse script technique. Here's a practical tool you can use. Since lies are constructed narratives, they're typically memorized in chronological order. The person has rehearsed it from beginning to end like a script. So what do? You disrupt that sequence. Ask them to recount the story backwards. Something casual like, "Wait, what were you doing right before that happened?" Or, "Can you walk me through this starting from the end?" Someone telling the truth can do this easily because they're pulling from actual memory. They can navigate the timeline in any direction. But someone working from a script, they'll hesitate. They'll show frustration. Details might shift or become inconsistent. You're essentially asking their brain to do something it hasn't prepared for, and the cracks start to show. Establishing your baseline. Now, this is crucial, and it's where most people make their biggest mistake. You cannot identify abnormal behavior if you don't know what normal looks like for that person. Before you ask the difficult questions, Establish what I call a truth anchor. Start with easy, non-threatening topics. Ask about their morning, the weather, their weekend plans. Observe everything: their eye contact patterns, their gesturing, their pace of speech, how they position their body. That's their baseline. That's their normal. You're only looking for the moment they deviate from that baseline. Maybe someone who's usually animated suddenly goes still. Maybe someone who's typically measured starts rushing their words. The deviation is what matters, and you can only spot it if you know their anchor point. A real-world example. Let's walk through a scenario. Imagine asking someone where they were last night, and they respond, "Oh, I was at the office working late on that presentation." First, watch for the statue effect. Did their hands stop moving mid-sentence? Did their posture lock up? Second, reference your truth anchor. Does their tone match how they usually sound when they're tired or stressed? Third, employ the reverse script. Casually follow up with something like, "That sounds exhausting. What did you do right before you left?" If they're being truthful, the answer flows naturally. "I saved my work, grabbed my jacket, locked up." But if there's a lie, you'll see a pause, a slight delay while their brain works to construct that part of the story on the fly. That hesitation tells you everything. The eye contact myth. Remember that counterintuitive fact I promised you? Here it is. We've been taught our entire lives that liars avoid eye contact, that looking away is a sign of dishonesty. That's outdated information, and skilled deceivers know it. Because everyone believes that myth, practiced liars will often overcompensate. They'll hold eye contact longer than feels natural. It's not connection, it's calculation. They're monitoring you, checking to see if the story is landing. Natural eye contact breaks every few seconds. It ebbs and flows. But if someone is locked onto your eyes without breaking, especially while explaining something important, they're not being genuine. They're trying to control how you perceive them. Why this matters? Learning to spot deception isn't about becoming cynical or suspicious of everyone around you. It's about clarity. It's about trusting yourself. When you understand these patterns, you stop second-guessing your instincts. You don't have to live with that nagging anxiety wondering if you're seeing things clearly. You can honor what your intuition is telling you because now you understand the mechanics behind it. This knowledge protects your peace. It helps you make better decisions about who deserves your trust and who doesn't. Your next step. Here's what I want you to do. For the next 24 hours, just observe. You don't need to interrogate anyone or create confrontations. Simply watch with this new awareness. Turn on a news interview or a celebrity talk show. Watch for the statue effect. Notice when cognitive load becomes visible. Look for those moments when someone's baseline shifts. And if you spot it, I'd genuinely love to hear about it. Drop your observations in the comments. If you want to go deeper into this topic, especially into why we lie to ourselves, there's another video on self-deception that builds perfectly on what we've covered today. That's your next step. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.